Meeting Joni Mitchell. Anyone that I've talked to in my 40 years in radio, anyone who has worked with her or met her, will always say the same thing. She comes at it from a different angle. Most people do not think or write or sound like Joni Mitchell. Nobody really does. We talked to Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill of Boy Meets Girl about Joni Mitchell.
I remember, I think it was Spirit Trail by Bruce Hornsby. I remember being in radio and never thinking much, always being really nervous in interviews when you're young. I don't get nervous anymore, but I remember sitting there and he's getting ready, sitting down. It's, I think, his fourth album. And I started the interview by saying, I knew where I was when I heard The Way It Is. I knew where I was. I never, and you've gone all over the place. And now you're sitting across from me, and he went on this long thing about, you never know where you're going to go in your life. And it's hit me every time I do an interview of going, it's strange. We both were touched by your song and your songs. And here we are. And there's always that element of little old me in everybody, because people forget you're fans too, right? You're fans. But where were those moments when you met some of your heroes?
Well, for me, I didn't actually meet her, but we were recording an album with Arif Mardin in Los Angeles. It was in a studio in Santa Monica. And I came out of the studio and the lobby is like packed with people. And I look over and they're sitting on the sofa surrounded by, me and a bunch of other sycophants, was Joni Mitchell. And I thought, I was in the studio and she's been out here for how long and I didn't know it. And the room was so full of people. I just, and Arif was right next to me. So she acknowledged Arif. And then I just felt like, well, I'm just going to slink on home now.
Wow.
It was a powerful moment. And actually, Arif being the gentleman, you talk about the nerves that kick in. Without skipping a beat, he introduced, these are the artists that I'm working with. This is called Boy Meets Girl. This is Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill, and whether that ever even got heard because, of the whole thing. But I just appreciated that Arif was, not flustered.
Well, Chris Bodie told me backstage one day, I said, oh, by the way, I interviewed you like 10 times. We never talked about Joni Mitchell. He said, and you know this, what I'm just going to say. He said, being on a bus or anything with Joni Mitchell, she'll see a tree and you'll see she's thinking about it. And then she'll come and describe the tree and how the tree felt. And I'm going, what? He says, I don't know what planet she's from, but man, you can understand the body of work when you spend any time with her or even watch her anywhere. He says, and I'm going, wow.
Yeah. She takes it in. She just processes it her own way, and her choices of words and phrases and chords, every single thing is it just sparkles.
Yeah. I the follow up to that moment of coming out of the studio, she was visiting her boyfriend at the time, who was producing, what was her name? That beautiful singer, songwriter. She was in the studio meeting up with her boyfriend. She was waiting for him to come out of the studio, and
I don't know where all the people came from, though. They just showed up, maybe off the
Sean
street.
Penn.
Word got out anyway.
She was hanging out with Sean Penn. Yeah, so it was it was a star-studded event. But the next day, she was back, just visiting him again. But she was hanging out, and we were upstairs. Shannon was back home, unfortunately, that night. But we were mixing, and I saw Joni, and we spent about 2 hours playing ping pong. And she came up and heard Shannon sing our song on the New Dream album called "Free." Got a chance to hear Shannon sing, which was kind of fun. And just spending some time watching her chain smoke American spirits, and and she was, at the time, she was agitated about Native a Native Canadian issue that was going on at the time, and I'm not sure. It was something Indigenous that was really bothering her. So
what was
she
her
ranted about it, and it was great fun to be in her presence, though. Larry Klein.
Larry
Klein.
Klein.
Yeah.
I guess one thing that I really always want to know is, where did you get the name Boy Meets Girl? How did that come to fruition?
Oh, we had just moved to Los Angeles. We had our plan B if Los Angeles didn't work out. So we're living in this neighborhood called Tarzana, which at the time was still quite rural. I'm not sure how it looks right now, but we had a donkey next door and all of that. So we were busy making, recording on the 4-track deck, right next to the washer and dryer in the living room. Of course, that's how you do things. And sending out cassette tapes, ever hopeful. And so we thought, well, we should have a name to put on this tape, aside from our own names. And so we just sat at the kitchen table and wrote lists. And then, and I think we both felt like, well, Boy Meets Girl really suits us. We're going to take a lot of crap for it.
Yeah.
It's very corny. But we didn't come up with a better name. So we thought, well, we'll put it on the tape and then we can always change it. But we never did change it.
Cool.
And somebody did get the tape out of the bin at A&M Records. And that's how we got our first record deal.
Yeah.
What was that process like? That like sorry, George, to interrupt you. Like, I'm just kind of curious. So that happens. I mean, I've been in radio 40 years, and I talked to so many people who say we were just on our last craft dinner, but tell me what the process was like. Okay, someone listened to you. What did that look like in your life?
Oh,
we were just about to have a baby, our daughter Hillary.
Yeah.
And I had just decided, I think a week previous to, I think probably a couple of months went by since we'd sent out the cassette tapes. And so I thought, I'm not going to be a songwriter anymore. I'm going to be a mom.
This is breaking news. I didn't know this is part of this.
Oh, I had just gotten all settled on that notion, And then I heard George answer the phone, landline, of course, back then. It was in the hallway. I heard him answer it and my ears pricked up because I could tell it was a music business person. And they wanted to meet us in person. And they ended up signing us to the publishing at Elmo Irving first, of course, because that's how they solidify the deal. And then we got the record contract shortly after that.
Yeah.
But someone actually pulled the tape out of this basket. They showed us the basket when we came in. But the reason is, George will tell you.
Yeah. We've done songwriting workshops, and people ask, how things happen, and this is our trick, but we didn't do it purposely. We'd been told that there was a fella in A&R at A&M Records, and his name was Alan Jalakis. And so we sent this tape, like Shannon just laid out there, and then we didn't hear anything for months. And
the envelope had, George is kind of a cartoonist, and so
that's right.
Drawn this cartoon on the outside of the envelope, kind of around the address,
Yeah, I think I drew a fish or something. Anyway, you're right. There was some artwork on the outside, because I just know you were trying to catch somebody's attention in some primitive way. Anyhow, as it turns out, we get this call, and the guy's laughing when he answers the phone, or when he's on the phone. He says, "Hi, is this George?" "Yeah, this is Alan Jalakis." And he's laughing. He says, "Actually, my name is Aaron Jacobus." We had spelled his name wrong, and that's why he picked it out of the bunch. They were having a good guffaw over the fact that somebody thought his name was Alan Jalakis. They stuck the tape in and went, "Geez, these kids are pretty good." So it actually worked out in our behalf. And I just, if we're advising young writers, that's another technique you can use.
What was on that tape? What was anything on that tape end up being recorded?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. I think Your Move, My Heart was on that tape.
Yeah, although we never put that on any of our albums, but it did get recorded.
Yeah, Phyllis Hyman. It was one of our first placements. Was with Tom Bell produced Phyllis Hyman back in the late 70s, and yeah, I think they changed the name of the song to "It's Your Move," I think. But yeah.
And I don't remember what was on that original tape. I don't think any of those songs, though, ended up on our first album or subsequent.
Oh, one of them did. Actually, it was "Oh Girl," and that because with the demo, the demo of "Oh Girl" was on that tape.
I love the phrasing of that song. I like
really.
Bouncy. I'm a big phrasing guy. I like Sam Cooke for that.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Jordan once told me, I said, "Where'd you learn phrasing?" Mark says, "God, what are you?" Me and Rod Stewart, we learned, and Rod recorded "Rhythm of My Heart" from Mark and John Kupik, and he says, "Oh God, it's Sam Cooke."
We'll have more from Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill of Boy Meets Girl coming up in a few days. Keep coming back to the channel for more from Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill of Boy Meets Girl. And when the whole interview is available, we'll put the link at the very top of every video that features them, so it'll be easier for you to find. And there'll also be links to the podcast when it's ready. Remember, if you want to make a donation to the channel and help us grow, there's a PayPal link at the very top of the description. Also, join our Patreon. You'll get early access to all our videos. Subscribe to our channel. We've got great swag. If you want to buy a t-shirt or a coat or a hat, it's all at the very top of the description, the link. But subscribe to the channel, like our videos, comment on them, and share them on social media. We'd appreciate that. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music.